Welcome to the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and I am on the mission to change the narrative of immigration, one immigrant story at a time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the American Dream in the Eyes of Immigrants podcast. I am your host, Heidy De La Cruz, and today I have Miss Teresa Foster. Thank you so much for being here today to share your immigration story, but then also the work you did to help immigrants themselves. So I'm so excited to dive in. If you can just let the audience know who you are, what you're currently doing, and then we can get going started talking about your childhood in Mexico.
Perfect. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Teresa Foster. My maiden name is Teresa de Jesus Oviedo Perez. As you know, we have our second name, middle name, then our last name from our father and last name from our
From
mother.
the mother, yes.
Yes, right. And so now it's just Teresa Foster.
So you took away all the names.
Which was easier. I learned it from my mom.
Okay.
My mother's name was Maria de Jesus Perez Mejia. So when she married my father, she just went like Maria, Oviedo. So I said, well, if she is ahead of her time because she was, then why not? So
yeah,
she wasn't surprised.
Okay, so I know. Let's talk about that a little bit about the names. I know this wasn't like initially planned, but I do find that very interesting because what I've heard, when immigrants become citizens, they assign the name that they want to go by. So some of them choose to remove their middle name or remove their second last name. So I find that very interesting that some people do choose, to change their name or choose to keep their name.
And the other thing here, I'm glad that you bring that up, is a lot of times, like, there is a lot of Maria Gonzalez.
Oh, yes.
Or Jose.
Or Jose, yes.
So in this case, I will talk to my clients and say, well, there's a lot of Maria, Gonzalez. So I think in this point, maybe it would be better if you use your husband's last name or use your first name as Maria, and then your middle name, Gonzalez, and then your husband name, because that's a very unique name that you're having. And a lot of men, when they were coming from Mexico or from their own country with their green card, Jose Gutierrez. So they will go like, oh, wait a minute. And they will have a lot of problems, at the border or in the airport because there was a lot of that. And some of them, they have already, a record. And so then I will say like, okay, so you need to put your two last names together as a hyphen.
Yep.
Hyphen. So that you won't have that problem. So a lot of times that's what they did when they become U.S. citizens. And a lot of that will just help them, with so many Jose's or so many Marias, which is a beautiful name. But having the last name, because a lot of family came here, like I have 4 brothers, and the 4 brothers were, the same last name. So there was a lot of cousins with the same last name.
Yeah.
And when they had the mother's name, Hayden, then, oh, okay, so you are another one we were looking for.
That actually happened to a family member. They got stopped at the airport because they were looking for someone with the exact same name. And it's like, it's not like, and at the search and everything, it's like, it wasn't him. So yeah, that definitely is a good point to bring up. And it also reminds me actually when I was going to name my daughter, my daughter's dad was born in the Dominican Republic. And over there, of course, we use all 4 names, right? We have the first name, middle name, father's last name, mother's last name. And so even though I was born here in the United States, my parents are Dominican. So I kind of wanted to keep the same tradition. And I was like, oh, I want to, I'll add my last name to her name. And he was like, why? That you don't do that in the United States. That's just a Dominican. And I was like, well, exactly. Like, I want to keep that tradition going. So I did end up giving her so she has 4 names. So I did end up giving her both her dad's last name and my last name, my maiden name. And so, when she gets married, she gets to decide if she wants to, drop the 2 names and add her husband or, have 3 last names. If that's what she wants to do.
I know. Well, that's a nice thing. But the other nice thing, being from Mexico, and working along the side with the Mexican consulate here, there was, a movement that I have my kids. They were born here in the United States. But I said, but oh my goodness, what happened if something happens here or we want to go back to Mexico? So then I find out that you can get a birth certificate from the Mexican consulate. And I was like, I'm in. So what do I need? So if in this case, I was from Mexico, my husband is from the United States, but because they have the lynch, either the mother or the father, so I have to go take them, like register them, and they give me a birth certificate that says, was born in Walnut Creek, California, but it is, here his nationality. So they are registered and they have a birth certificate from Mexico, but thanks to the Mexican consulate that everybody can do. And why is it important to do that? Because then if my kids wanted to study in Mexico, the university or, work there, they can show the birth certificate, which they have the Mexican passport. But then, yes, we have to add the last name and my last name. So like my son, is Carlos, my and Rafael again. Then they have Foster and then Oviedo. So to me, it was an advantage because they say, well, now you can have your Mexican passport. If there's anything happening here, or you would like to work or study there, then that's what you can do. And a lot of people from Mexico don't know that. And they're like, well, I want to send my kids there. So they can get the birth certificate here in the United States that says it's from the United States, but isn't recognizing your child as a Mexican from the mother or the father. So I did that, and that's when they had the 4 names like your daughters.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. So Teresa, let's talk a little bit about your childhood. How was it growing up in Mexico and then events leading up to your move to the US?
Okay, well, as a child, I was a happy child. A happy child of 11.
Wow.
Yes, my parents were very old-fashioned. And there was that time when, they have a lot of children because they needed to. And my father was from the state, from Mexico, but outside. And my mother was from outside Mexico, Hidalgo and Tultepec. And they met in Mexico City.
Oh.
So my father, his family in Tultepec have land and, all the cows and everything. But my mother and my father get married. So they moved to outside Mexico where they have my 3 oldest sisters. And, so my mother being from Mexico City, living there for her whole life, go to this town where she has to prepare food for her husband because he was working the lands. Even so, he had people working for him. He had to go there, and get up at 4 in the morning and take them there. And my father have to take the food to the land, wherever they were working. So they were just, her and my father's grandmother running to take the food. So my mother said, wait a minute, there's only, up to 6th grade here. I have 3 daughters. I want them to study. And my parents didn't have really a formal education because in those years, we are talking the 40s, they just, work. And so my mother came back with my father to Mexico City. And then my rest of my brothers and myself, we were born in Mexico City. So my father became, a welder. And he had that in the house, he ironman and do the doors and everything. And my mother was a housewife, but also always, we have pigs, we have chickens, we have, because she wanted to buy and sell for the family because we were 11 or 10. So I never hear my father say, I don't have money today. We are not going to eat today. No, there was always food, thank God, to them. So my upbringing was like, okay, so you are 7, so you're going to do the the socks. You're going to help to, take care of the babies or the children. So we all have a role in the house. We didn't have time to go outside and play. If we wanted to play, we can play with the brothers and sisters. But I remember, my childhood being happy because I was always with people. And my grandmother, my aunts, they live in the next street. So if you go to the market, you will find your uncles, you will find your cousins. And on Christmas, we'll go together to the house and we make tamales. So it was a happy childhood. But here is where my mother said, wait a minute, you know, my daughters are growing up and I don't want them to be here. And my father said, yes, they have to be in the house so they can help you because they're going to get married. And my mother said, no, I want them to go, to study something. It has to be like a short career or something that they can do. And my father, no, they have to stay here because they're going to get married. So that was my father mentality. You grow up as a woman, you get married, and the husband takes care of you. But my mother's very wise and very ahead of her time said, no, what happens if the husband dies or gets sick or they don't get along well and they want a divorce? And we are talking about the 60s.
Wow.
And so they have, so my older sister, became a secretary. My other sister became a beautician. And my other sister became a clothes designer. So by doing that, the oldest, start working and help the next one. So that was our role as women. My father took care of the man. My mother took care of us. So each one, was like, okay, I'm working now. You go to school. So I became a bilingual executive secretary thanks to my sister. But the nice thing is that you looking at your older sisters, and I did, and see them how they will do well, by the way, my sister taught me how to cut my hair, how to do makeup, how to take care of your skin.
Yeah.
And my older sister will do our dresses, as children. So it was, all that really direct teaching that you can see and appreciate. And me being one of the youngest, there's just 3 more after me. I'm the 7th. It was very, very nice seeing all my sisters and brothers sitting. And when my sisters were working, one of my sisters said, well, we need a bigger table. So she asked, a carpenter to make a 12-chair table because that's how big it was. The house was 5 bedrooms. But we all had things to do. And my mother said, no, you are not going to play in the street. You have siblings here to play. And we get toys only for the 3 kings. We didn't celebrate birthdays, not because my mother couldn't remember all the birthdays. Can you imagine? 12 kids. So she will just look at you and say, oh, it's your birthday today. Okay, I brought you an apple. Because we were no rich, we were no poor, we were middle class, but tight. So I remember my older sisters, when they were working, I was so blessed that they will give me their clothes and we'll pass the clothes. And I remember my father arriving with a lot of boxes of shoes and he will put them there and say, okay, everybody, try shoes and see which one will fit. So now I just go like, Heidy, how did my father every day buy, like 5 gallons of milk?
Yeah.
5 kilos of tortillas, which is about 10 pounds every day. And every day we have breakfast and dinner and supper. So we were so blessed. And that's the beauty of the families, not only in Mexico, but in all the countries, how everybody, take care of their own family because we have those value. We have those tightness that you are responsible for the family. So it was something that to me, it was just so happy. Nevertheless, when I was in grammar school, when the teacher said, draw your house, I always drew my house thinking ahead. I don't know why, but I always draw my husband with blonde hair.
Really? Wow.
and I will go put, yellow And I never thought about it, so my childhood was really, really, really nice.
Have you been thinking about starting your very own podcast? Well, I created a podcast course to help you launch your podcast without feeling overwhelmed and with simplicity. Okay. So it is a 6-week podcast course. Each video is less than 15 minutes long, so it doesn't take that much time to get through. And it breaks down the steps that you need to launch your podcast. Again, 6 weeks or less. So you can do it faster than 6 weeks, or you can take longer than 6 weeks. It's all up to you. You do it at your pace. And you will get lifetime access to this course. In addition to the 6 modules or the 6 videos, you also get videos about editing. You'll also get the podcast digital planner, which helps you create your content and helps you with the episode outline. It helps you with the show notes outline. It helps you stay on track with the podcast cycle checklist. It has the guest intake form and also a Google Sheet episode organizer to make sure that you are organized and set up from the jump to be able to plan out your content, organize your episodes, because that is key to long-term podcasting, right? You'll also get 3 exclusive interviews with leading podcasters who are killing it in the industry. And in addition to all of that, you will also get the podcast workbook, like how to launch a podcast workbook that goes along with each module. So you can watch the videos and then also follow along with the workbook. All of that is included in the course. If you are interested, head over to my Stan store. The link is in the show notes and the show description. So you can sign up for the course. And there's also a referral program included. If you refer someone to me to launch their podcast and they sign up for the course, I will give you $50. That's right. You will receive $50 if the person you referred does sign up for the podcast course. So all the information is in my Stan store. If you have any specific questions, you can always email me at Heidi@HeidiDeLaCruz.com, and let's get your podcast launched. Oh my goodness. And so what events led you, and did you move to the United States? And then also, was it just you that moved or was it the whole family? How was that?
Well, that was the thing. I was working for Reader's Digest, the magazine, and the big shots from New York were coming to the company, and we were all bilingual, so we have to translate for our bosses, and especially mine that didn't speak in English. So he said, "I want you to go and polish your English." So when you learn, it's not really, all that to really have a conversation or translate. So I said, "Okay, I need some polishing." And so he said, "Well, go and look for a school so that you can go after work and do that." So I went to this beautiful school in La Colonia Roma that is a very nice, old-fashioned school that it was in a mansion. The mansion was, called columns. I love it, the Current Hall. So when I went, it was in the afternoon and the sun, was just coming in through those beautiful pillars, and they have all the trees. So I went there to ask for information. And then as I walk in there, I have long hair, straight brown hair. And, I was after work. So you dress up in Mexico when you are working. Everybody dress up. Everybody has a tie and a jacket, a suit, 3 pieces. So I arrived there, and then I checked to the receptionist, and I said, "I'm here for information. I would like to know your classes, how much, you charge, and blah, blah, blah." And she started talking when this gentleman just cut off and said, "How can I help you?" in Spanish. And I look at him, blonde, 6'3", blonde hair. And I just like, "Well, I'm here for classes." I never crossed my mind that this man was after me.
Oh.
So I just said, "Oh, well, I need this and that." So I talked to him, and he said, "Why don't you take this exam now? And we can right away, let you know which grade you can be." And I said, "Well, I don't know, somebody's waiting for me." And he said, "Well, it will be quick." So he gave us the test to several people. And several people, I mean, I right away finished. And I was like, I finished. And he said, so he left me at the end. Everybody finished after me and everybody left. And I'm like, God, this guy, I need to leave. So he said, okay, so what about if I can help you and I can give you the books that you can start? And I said, oh, okay, well, that's nice. And he said, okay, so can I have your phone number? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, but okay, you can have my phone number and you can call me when you're going to drop me. I said, can I go to your house? I said, no, you cannot come to my house. My father was really jealous. I said, no, 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 no. So I just left, went, then I started my English classes with him. So one day before the class, I was at work. He called me and said, I have the books. And I said, well, you can come to my house, but you can bring to my office. And he said, okay, where do you work? Blah, blah, blah. So one day I was, working. I work for the computer system in Reader's Digest. That means that there were about 16, 17 guys who used to do all the programming and my boss. So they called me and said, Señorita Oviedo, Miss Oviedo, there is a gentleman here that said has some books. And I was like, who's that? Oh, okay. I said, oh, I know who that is. So I go down, and there he is, so handsome with his hair. And I go like, there's a lot of girls here. I think I'm going to just, pry him. I'm going to show him around. So I said, okay, follow me. So I took him for all the, the routes of the offices. And it was like, I was like, excuse me. So I took classes in the school. We started dating, but it was a very struggling time for him because he was an American and I'm Mexican, very traditional. And then, he just wanted to say, hey, let's move together. And I go like, oh, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
We have to date and know each other. And he was like, oh, okay. And I said, can I take you home? Oh, no, we cannot do that. No later. So we have to balance a lot of traditions. A lot like, may I, and can we? And I have to be at home at the latest at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And, just go home. And he didn't go to my house after, a couple months. And I told my mom, but not my dad. I told my sisters, but not, my father, because he will get very jealous. So finally, he came to the house and introduced him and met all the family. And he went like, you have a lot of brothers and sisters. I never got to learn all the names. And I said, well, wait, it's the brothers and sisters. And, 5 of them are married. 4 of them are married. So you have to meet the husbands and the little, nieces and nephews. But so one day he arrives to my house and said, oh, Tere, let's go and have some coffee. And I said, oh, you have to ask permission to my father. And he said, well, how old are you? And I said, doesn't matter. You have to ask permission. So he goes to my father, very polite. His Spanish is pretty good. He studied languages. So, suegro, can Tere and I go and have some coffee? And my father looked at him and said, Chucha, that's my mother. Get some coffee. Put some coffee on. They're going to have some coffee here. No, she cannot go. You can have coffee here. And he was like, and then she looked at me and said, are we going? And I said, no. My father said, no, I cannot go. He had to adjust a lot, with that. There were Sundays we were family. So wherever we go in family, we'll go. We pick up the sisters that they were married and they will all go to visit the aunt or go to the park or do something else. So he will arrive and we'll have breakfast. And my father said, well, let's go. And he will go like, where are we going? And he said, no, you're not coming. You are not part of the family yet. And he will just like, and look at me. And I said, I'm sorry, see you tomorrow. So he really fought for me. And we've been just very blessed, that we are now celebrating our 46th anniversary.
Aww.
And so I was in Mexico. So my in-laws have to come and ask for my marriage, my hands on marriage. So when he told, his parents, his mother said, "What?" Said, "You have to come and ask for Teresa, ask for her hand." "How is she? Is she a minor?" And said, "No, that's the custom." Said, "Okay, so that's the custom. We have to respect the custom, and we will go and ask for her hand in marriage." So they came to Mexico to ask for my hand in marriage, and we got married. And my mother made the mole, and all the friends and family came to the wedding. And I was married in a church by the church ceremony, in the church that is the Jesus de Nazareno, that is in Mexico City, and was built by the Hernan Cortés to marry. Guess who? Well, I was like, okay, this is a very old fashioned, all the families here, and La Malinche. So Hernan Cortés married the Malinche, and I'm here marrying a foreign too in the same church after so many 100 years. But it was just so nice. I am the only one who lives here. I moved here. My childhood, as I remember now, was very beautiful. But as I was growing up, I will see my family and I will take a few seconds and say to myself, I have to remember this. Or if we were walking and my sister were walking, I have to remember this. In the subconscious, somehow I knew that I was going to be away from them. I don't know how, but that's what I always thought.
Wow.
And even, looking at the outside the street from my, bedroom, I will look at the street, look at the rain. My parents live up in the hill, and seeing the people coming and running. I was saying, I have to remember this. I have to know this without knowing that I was in somehow, but not like, oh, why? Why? No, I never question it. I just let it go. So we got married in July, 1st of July. But this is the funny part. So my in-laws came and asked for my hand. And my mother said to him, "So when are you getting married?" And he was so nice and polite with my mother. Said, "Whenever you want, suegra, whenever you want." And my mother said, "Okay, so you will get married for the civil ceremony in March, and you will get married for the church in July."
Oh my goodness.
We got married for the civil ceremony, and he said, "What is your suitcase?" And I said, "Oh no, I cannot go and live with you until we marry for the church ceremony."
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But I love how respectful he was of
Yes.
the tradition and everything, and even your in-laws, because anybody else could have just been like, "Oh no, that's too much. We're not doing all this." But I love how respectful he was for everything.
Yes. So after we got married, we lived in Mexico City for about 3 months. He was a teacher, so we thought it was going to be had more advantage here. So I moved to Moraga, California, and be with my in-laws. And it just felt right. He came from a small family. There were 3 children and my in-laws. So at the beginning, it was a little strange because I was used to the noise, to a lot of people, to the city. So I will ask him to take me to San Francisco. When he took me to San Francisco, because my father-in-law worked there, I was like, there is a city, there is buildings.
Yeah.
Oh, I need this.
Oh.
Smog.
Oh my goodness.
So after that, he will take me every month or so that I can really feel that. So it was a struggle when I arrived, but not because what I miss, but because of the language.
Oh.
I spoke English, but it's not like 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it just different the English of an office to the English of every day.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I was like, so my mother-in-law and I had our Bible, which was our dictionary.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So every time, she will find something like, she will go like, oh, this one I remember. She'll say, oh, we hear this rooster in the morning. And I go like,
A
what?
rooster?
A rooster. I said, a rooster. And I would like find it. She was like, Terry, get it. And I said, okay, rooster.
Oh my
So
goodness.
she was really a blessing for me. She understood both of them. They welcomed me, all the family, with open arms. And it was very nice. Yes, it's a change because you are used to your family, your traditions.
Yeah.
And when you are here, are different, especially when you don't come with your husband that is from Mexico or is
Mhm.
from Latin America, because the traditions are so different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, and
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
so punctual. Like that, my mother will say, "Okay, we are going to have dinner at 6, and you have to be ready by 6." And everybody will arrive 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Everybody get up, thank you so much, and they will leave. And I go like, no dancing.
That's true. Oh my goodness. So, how was it visiting back home after moving?
How was visiting my house, my
Yeah.
Mexico when I
Mhm.
went?
Mhm.
Well, the it was very nice. It was very welcoming. It was so good to see my parents.
Yeah.
But after probably a week or so, you will say, no, this is, not my house. I'm not used to this anymore. But nevertheless, we always visit my parents. I always visit them. And with my kids, we always went. I wasn't working at the time, so we will stay for a month.
Nice.
Yes. So we'll stay for a month. We'll go first with the kids and then Sean will um, follow. But mostly of the time, we just stay there. I talk to them in Spanish, as many of us do, but they always answer to me in English.
Mm. Mhm.
So I said, okay, God bless you, and we'll see what happens. But being there with all the cousins, because it was so funny because they had many cousins that they are the same age and the same year, and it was so strange, because I was like listening and they will answer in Spanish, and I said, oh, okay, their Spanish is not 100%, but they understood better because I was talking, but then they will just say it, and the cousins never laugh or anything. They just understood them,
Yeah.
and they became great friends. I always send them to Mexico after I was working. I sent them a couple of times, and they just love abuelita. And my mother later came, and spent about 3 months with us. And some of my sisters came, and usually when I was working, they came for help me with the summer
Yeah.
vacation. My nieces, that in that time, my kids were 6 or 9, and they were 16, 18. So they will come in the summer, they will love it, and I will, send them to school in the morning, and then they will take care of the kids in the afternoon. So that was very nice because they knew the value of the family
Yeah.
and the traditions that we had. So that was pretty nice.
Yeah, that
After
sounds
that,
really nice.
yeah, then I start working. And that was a funny story because I was a housewife. I went to college to learn computers when the computers came, and I was like, I want to learn that and take more thing in English. And thank God I did that. The opportunity came that my husband started working in Napa, so we came to Napa Valley, beautiful, place, a lot of vineyards, and I wasn't used to that. So one day I went to the store and I saw a lot of men, farm workers. But at the time, it looks to me strange because haven't seen them like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they were, looking at dresses and trying to just figure out, what size they were. Some of the others were looking at brassieres, and some other were looking at it. And I said, what are they doing? So
Yeah.
I came to the house. I said to Sean, I went to the store and I saw a lot of men, but a lot. And then he said, those are the farm workers. Those are the people who work, to harvest the grapes. And I was like, oh, you're a mother, you are at home, you take your kids to
Yeah.
the school, so you are not like looking until I was exposed to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay. And I didn't know that I was going to be helping those people in the future
Mm.
when my husband decided to change careers and the opportunity came to be an immigration consultant. So the agency opened for us, and my husband was going to do it because he's bilingual. When an offer came from a winery for him to work, and I said, well, I'll take over because we need to take this over, and I'll then teach you. So this winery grabbed him, and he worked full time, and I was in charge of the office as an immigration consultant, which I didn't know anything about it. But when I started looking and seeing, how the process was, I was like, I went through the same process. I had
Mm-hmm.
interview with immigration. I have to fill out papers. I remember, being a little frightened because you are with the government, and doesn't matter in which country you are, the government is scary.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm going to, do this. And 80% of my clients were Latinos, from everywhere, all Latin American. And the other 20% were all over the world. But the federal law is the same for everybody.
Yep.
And explaining to them, and relax them and come in and say, don't worry, everything is okay. So I helped them to get their resident card. I helped them to uh, apply for their families, wherever they were, so that they can bring them. And also I helped them, when they were here, they will arrive to my office and I will let them know, it's okay, you have to go to this school because you live in district. You have to get your social security. You have to. So give them all the information that I was giving also at the radio station, at the radio show that I have, that it was Hablando de Migración y Más, talking about immigration
Mm.
and more. And more was like, okay, well, we are going to have some representatives for immigration, and we are going to be talking, about what happened if you know, are going to be deported because you have a DUI or 3 DUIs. So I
Wow.
was very also committed to my community because I saw, their farm workers. A lot of them, they didn't have that much school or studies, and a lot of them, they didn't even know how to read. So they will bring me their letters. They will bring me the paper and say, Miss Foster, here's a letter. And I said, oh, yeah, I told you that you will receive this letter. And he said, yeah, but I don't know what it says. And I said, oh, you can read it, no problem. And they will say, I don't know how to read.
Wow.
And I felt so embarrassed. And I said, don't worry, I'll read to you. I explain to you. And then from that on, I said, just bring everything. I told my girls, I have 2 staff. And I said, when they arrive and give you a letter, open it and read it to them and ask them if they understand. And if they have any doubt, just let me know. So then I start continue with the radio show talking about, you will receive this letter that is going to say this and that, so be careful. You are going to receive a letter, but they will bring me a letter from IRS, a letter from schools, a letter from immigration. So we became the sort of helping the people.
Yeah.
So that was but for me it was wonderful working 33 years as an immigration consultant, that from there, other things came too.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And so coming to the United States, you were just going to not just going to be, but you were thinking of being a wife, but then you ended up helping immigrants for 33 plus years. So how was that for you? How did you feel helping this community?
You know, um, you don't think, you react.
Mm.
Um, I was with the radio show and with, helping people. So other big agencies start noticing me because I
Mm.
will take information to churches, to schools, and I will just go out. So Queen of the Valley Medical Center, that is now Providence, asked me to be in the board of trustees. Said, we want Teresa, we want you to be in the board of trustees. At that time, I said, I can't. I have my mother-in-law very ill of cancer, and she's going to, I don't know what's going to happen. And they asked, how long do you need? I said, a year. I thought that was it. I said, oh, okay, that's it. No problem. And when my mother-in-law passed away, about 8 months after, I just, let them know. I said, my mother-in-law passed away, so thank you very much. And then they said, oh, we want you to come to this meeting because we would like to, to talk to you. And I said, okay. So I went to the meeting, and the sisters of St. Joseph said, Teresa, we dedicated a mass for your mother-in-law. And I hope you don't mind because we asked your assistant for the name. And I said, oh, that's fine. So they said, you are now in the board of trustees.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So several people said, how did you get in? And I said, why? Why are you asked? I said, you're the first Latina. There's a lot of Latinas here that they have applied.
Oh.
And they were denied. And I was like, well, they just called me. Why did they call me? Because they knew I was involved with the community. And they said, what do they need? And the first meeting that we have, I turned around and they were all Anglos. And I said, okay. So I started listening, and then I started like, okay. So one of them, the financial department said, well, we have a lot of bills that they haven't been paid. And I said, and I started listening because they said, and a lot of them, probably 80% are Latinos. They don't pay.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I go like, a ver, give me a second. I said, why they don't pay? Have you called them? Yes. Did you send them letters? Yes. Okay. Are those letters in Spanish?
Nope, they're all English.
I said, okay. So let me tell you that a lot of those people bring letters because they don't know how to read.
Yeah.
So somebody has to reach them in Spanish. So I was there for 6 years as the board of trustees, and every year they review you, and every year they have to approve you. And during those 6 years, we got nurses, bilingual doctors. We opened a center, community outreach was open and pushed that it have to be bilingual, that these people have to go to their houses and help them, and also we said, we can't wait for them to come to the ER. We have to do that outreach to prevent.
Yeah.
So after 6 years and I did all that, then, they brought more Latinos there. And it was so grateful that I could do that because I was always put in the right place, in the right time, because I always pray for that.
Amen.
I said, please, God, put me in the right place, in the right time, where I can help, where I can reach. So not only that, but then I was also at the same time called by the adult school. And I said, okay, what's going on here? I hear that my clients, because I'm sending them for classes in English because they want to become citizens, but they say there is 1 year waiting list. What happened? So we start pushing, and they have more teachers, and then they have opened a class just to help people who would like to become a U.S. citizens. Mm-hmm. So I was in there. I was in hospice. So that we can help our Latino community to understand grief when somebody dies. What happened? When you are in your country, what do? You are with your family.
Yeah.
You have your community. When you are here, what do you have? Almost nobody. So I started, going here and there. So I felt like I was there for a reason. And I could help my community because I was put whatever I could do to outreach and help them.
Yeah.
The banks were like, oh my God, I have to write a little paper saying he needs a money order for 235. So I got
Wow.
tired and I went to the bank. And then when IRS start putting the ETIN number, I went to the banks because some of those CEOs were at the Queen of the Valley Medical Center. So I knew them. I said, do you know that with this IT number, you can open an account, a saving
Yeah.
account or a checking account? And they go like, no, I don't. I said, well, because of my radios and my TV show, then I
Yeah.
have those connections and I talk to IRS and they will send me people. I said, can you do with this number, the IT? And they say, yes. So all the banks start like, see these clients, they have their money here and they always carry it. So why not help them to open an account and from there send money to the country where they can do? So we start working as a community and start pushing to help our people. So
Yeah.
it was, I think, not a miracle, but it was the path that I was there to help them.
Oh my gosh, you have done such incredible work, and I love that. And so I want to know, I love asking my guests, because it can be different answers, but I realize that like there's a common theme. So the question is, what does the American dream mean to you?
The American dream is not only the American, but whatever you are, is the goal that you can reach and the goal that you can put that and said, I'm going to reach it. I don't know who I am, where I come from, or where I'm living. I'm going to do it. We have more, I will say, freedom to do here things. There's adult school where you can finish your high school diploma. There is a college where they can give you, classes to advance in your career. There is so many scholarships that you can give to your children. And that's one of the things that I joined the Napa County Hispanic Network to raise funds for the Latino students. And when I joined back in the 90s, we got this ban all the time, boys. And I said, wait a minute, we have to get girls because they were afraid to apply because the
Mm,
parents wouldn't allow them. So when they
mm,
apply and they won the scholarship, we as the board, a lot of times have to go and talk to the father and said, they got 1,000, 2,000 scholarship. She wants to go to Berkeley. She wants to go to the Napa College. She wants to go to Solano College. And the father said no, because she's going to get pregnant.
mm.
And I will look at them. A lot of them, they were my clients. I said, if she wants to get pregnant, she's going to get pregnant tomorrow. Don't push her.
Regardless. Yes.
So the American dream is, I already realized it because I was, working in Mexico.
Mhm.
But then I became here without knowing. I paid, I did the payment for going where I was an owner of my own agency, where I was in different board and help my community, where, people stopped me in the street and said, Mrs. Foster, you helped me. Thank
Aw.
you. And it's so wonderful because I have this feeling. One day we close at 5, my office, and I hear, and I said, it's 5 o'clock. Oh my God. There's going to be somebody. I said, okay, I open. And I opened the door and there was my client with these 4 kids and they were all dressed up.
Aw.
And I go like, oh, I said, Mrs. Foster, we're back from Ciudad Juarez. Everything was approved. I didn't call you because I wanted to come and bring
And
you the
tell
kids.
you in person. Aw.
And you know what he said? He looked at the kids and said, esta es la mujer que los trajo. This is the woman
Oh.
who brought you out. And they came and hugged me because in those years, you have to wait 5 to 8 years to bring your children here legally. 5 to 8 years. They were waiting to be, I mean, the parents will go, the father will go and see them only in Christmas and come back and all the year will working. So they hug me and they have a little present. And I said, we brought you this. And I was like,
yeah.
I was so happy because the wife was here, the children were here. And, 20 years later, I saw them and she came and hugged me. I said, do you remember me? And I go like, who are you? And she gave me the name, said, I went to your office and I give you a hug. And I go like, well, you were like 8? And she said, yes. And now, I'm here, I'm studying and I got married.
Oh my God.
And that's when you go and say, wait a minute, did I do that?
Yeah.
What was that my mission? And I haven't finished, Heidy. I haven't finished because I retire. The office is still active, but I retire and I said, I'm going to rest. I haven't been able to. I feel more comfortable with my husband because we both, at the end, my husband and I run the business. He retired earlier and then he became Mr. Mom. Because the kids in that point was junior high and high school. So I said to Shan, you want to do, you can work at the agency or you want me to continue? He said, no. You do it. And I said, okay, so somebody has to take care of the kids because we always have a nana, but also they were too old for nanas, but I knew somebody has to be watching them. Always you have to watch your kids.
Always.
And then okay. So he became Mr. Mom and they finished high school and he will go to to the school. He will go to the track with my daughter. And let me tell you, I was working and the race, the racetrack were always around 3 or 4. Those were my busiest afternoon because people, ask for half a day. So I have 3 or 4 clients. So one day my client canceled and I go like, okay, I'm going. So I went there to a hill with my high heels, all dressed up in an office outfit. And I hear, Amanda. And I go like, okay, run. She was coming running on first place. And I started yelling, I was closer to her and I started, Amanda. Yeah. So they all, she arrived and then she was first. She arrived there. She threw up because, and then she came back and hugged me and said, Mommy. Guess what? They thought she didn't have a mom.
Oh my gosh. No way.
Everybody was, because my husband went to the races, but
yeah,
you're working. So they thought he was a divorced man.
Oh my goodness.
And Amanda said, no wonder, all them, oh, Amanda, how are you? And I said, well, we are more intelligent than they think because you were fed.
Oh my goodness.
So the teacher, even one time the teacher asked her, said, Amanda, is everything okay at home? And she was like, yeah, why?
Yeah, we're perfectly fine.
Yeah. So the teacher came and said, are you Amanda's mother? I said, yes. Why? And she said, oh, no, we haven't seen you. I said, no, because my husband is the one who comes. But I'm here today, so I'm really proud of my daughter. And don't you push her more than she can, she said, because I hear you push a lot. And I don't like that. And you just like, but it is, what it is. But what the American dream is, again, what you dream of it, what you really grab and said, it's going to be okay. You are not going to say, oh, this is going to be my dream. Oh, no, you just keep going and you set your goals and then you just follow them. And if you arrive there, then that's your American dream. Your car is your American dream. Your first house is your American dream. Your children who, go to college, that's the American dream. You go back to your country and have great memories and then bring them back. That's the American dream. The American dream is each person and all the memories and all the goals that they really set for. So to me, I still live in my American dream. I retire. I visit my kids. We have 3 and we have 4 grandkids. So we just take the car and say, okay, let's go here, let's go there, let's visit the children, let's visit. But at the same time, I still with my TV show. It's going to be 25 years. How that happened? When I saw, that I was doing the radio show and bringing guests, I said, well, wait a minute. Let's start a TV show. And we started as a Tiempo Latino with with Manuel Treto. He said, let's go to the community channel and let's talk about what is the magazine that is, in Spanish. And I was writing an article about immigration and it was running in 7 newspapers. So I said, okay, that's a great idea. So we started it. After a few years, he had to move. And I said, well, I'm going to continue because not only we tell them about the magazine, but we start bringing those people that we were writing, like the sheriff, the Mexican consulate. So I said, I'm going to continue and just going to say Charlando con Teresa Foster. So I bring, news and let them know that, October is the month of awareness of domestic violence, how we can teach our kids and how can we teach our men and our women to be careful with that.
Yeah.
But they don't have to follow that path. Also, we talk about the insurance. Why is it important to have insurance in your house, your car? What happens if you have an accident? Well, a lot of times you have an insurance. I said, it's cheaper if I put el compadre there. And it's cheaper if I put but if the compadre has an accident, you are responsible.
Yeah.
So I bring those people to talk about the topics that our community needs to know and how to buy a house, a doctor about, diabetic for children that is really bad. And now mental health.
Yes.
Mental
so
health
important.
for children, mental health for seniors, mental health for women and men. So we bring those professionals to talk about it in their own language, in Spanish. So I still with the TV show Charlando con Teresa Foster, I joined now a new organization that is called 10,000 Degrees, that is a nonprofit organization that raises money for scholarships up to 4 years.
Wow.
So, it's something that I can wait a minute. There's a lot, not only Latinos, but a lot of people who really want to do it. And this organization, if you check 10,000 Degrees, is for the first generation that's going to college. And they are there to help you to fill out the form. They are in different schools. They are in Marin County, almost all California. They came to Napa 6 years ago. So they go to the Napa College. They go to the high schools. They help them. They push them. And then when it's almost the end, they go like, okay, how you doing? We need your grades to continue, paying for that tuition. But there's other organization that you can apply for scholarship. We are going to help you for, assistant. Or if you are undocumented, we can help you to apply for Dreamers for those scholarships. So I have that it really keep challenging me and keep saying, there's still a lot to do. I cannot do it all by myself, but I will do what I can. That's the American dream. We are used to no volunteering. Why? I don't have time. I want to see my novelas. We are used to, I'm here with the comadre. But if you volunteer a little bit, a couple of hours, then it's just, you see it differently. Doesn't matter what you would like to do. If you would like to volunteer in a board, or if you would like to volunteer in the school. I mean, I used to go to my kids' grammar school and volunteer, type, I will type all the books. So one day my son arrived very upset. He was in 2nd grade or 3rd grade. And he came crying and I said, what happened? I arrived and he was like, Mommy. So wait a minute, what happened? Mommy, my friend Manolo, let's call it, my friend Manolo said that you need to help him. I said, why? What happened? I said, well, they told him, he hear his mommy said that maybe they will kick him out of school. I said, why? So I don't know, but they said that they are going to kick all the, Mexicans. That was a famous, Proposition 86, that all undocumented children who were in schools, they were going to be deported or they were going to not go to school. And I was so upset. And I said, wait a minute, that's Wilson up there. I knew about that. I said, but I didn't expect children for third grade being worried about that.
Yeah.
So I went the next day to talk to the principal who I knew because I volunteer. So that's how you can move things if you are involved. So I went to the principal and said, hi, and Mrs. Foster, is today your day? I said, well, somebody called it to be my day. So I explained to her and she was like, and I said, yes, you have some undocumented children here and you cannot touch them. You cannot do anything. And there's a lot of worried people, a lot of worried children. So you better say something that they can be nice and relaxed.
Yeah.
So I went to the classroom and I hugged Carlos. I said, tell your friend not to worry. Everything is okay. But if you are involved, then you can make things happen.
Yeah. Teresa, thank you so much for this conversation, for sharing, for the work that you've done, what you're still continuing to do, because you're still very much involved, even though you're retired. But thank you so much for this. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, Heidy De La Cruz, thank you so much for what you do. And you are the American dream because you are sharing all these people and saying, it's not me. It's all these people who are talking, and I'm bringing it to you so you don't feel depressed, you don't feel sad. No, wake up every morning and say, thank God I have another day and we don't have COVID anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, my goodness.
Thank you so much for all you're doing, Heidy. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Mommy Podcast.